Hello, everybody. Today we are joined by Linda Fitz-Alan. Linda is the CEO and Registrar of Abu Dhabi Global Market Courts. Linda is responsible for leading the administration and operations. During her career, Linda has worked in both law firms as well as in-house counsel. Linda's experience spans across Australia, the US, and the UAE. Prior to joining the ADGM, Linda was the CEO and Principal Registrar for the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Linda graduated with a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Sydney. Linda, thank you for joining us today.
Saeeda, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
So, Linda, you have often said that law gives you flexibility and creativity, which is quite unique to hear. Tell us a little bit about your journey and about how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate that a lawyer saying that there's lots of flexibility and creativity in law is probably self-serving, and most of your audience would suggest that, that cannot be right. Like the norm for lawyers is pretty staid, traditional, the hard copy books and all of that. But look, it's been anything but for me. Just my journey in particular, I was blessed with some parents who could tell that at the young age of 18, I had absolutely no idea what to do in my life, no idea what to do for a career, but suggested that law could open up doors and present a whole bunch of opportunities that I didn't even know existed. So, not begrudgingly, but somewhat skeptical. I was lucky to have gotten the marks, so I started a law degree. And really, right from the start, I worked out that there were so many opportunities that could be had. I started off in government, in a job that really had the most enormous, diverse range of activities, of law transactions, of criminal work, of prosecutions, which gave me a great base. I then moved to a law firm, appreciating that after a few years in government, I wondered whether or not I was cruising a little, was wondering whether or not I needed, that I'd become a little bit too comfortable. It's not something that I'm good at in life, is being kind of comfortable always and being complacent and really, sort of nudging down into what you do. So I then started in really a career in law firms then, and what I was lucky to have was some very strong mentors and some very strong women role models, I'd have to say. And even back, quite some years ago, is that there were a lot of women who were forging the way in law, in the legal industry, which was renowned to be an industry that didn't offer opportunities so much for women, and they really had to tough it out. So I was very lucky with that, continued on doing all of that work, and then we, as a family, we were given an opportunity to go to New York. And that was with my husband's role. So I packed up, went to New York, two young children, and after a few years there, I realized that really it was time to get back into the workforce. So that's what I did, and I went in-house to a very large insurance company, and it was the most brilliant time, I have to say. It was in 2005, so really interesting time in the world, interesting time for the US, and I really loved the in-house role. So, and I really got that role from a friend who was able to tell the kind of really the opportunities that I was looking for, the challenges, and that I really wanted to do something different. So
Hmm.
fast forward back some years into Australia, we went back to Australia. That was the right thing to do for our young family at the time, daughter starting high school, and went back and realized that, luckily to the law firm, but realized that after a couple of years, probably I'd left that side of the legal industry, that I was looking for more. And then the role from the New South Wales Supreme Court came up, and it really married the management and the strategy that I had in the US with that legal technical ability, particularly in litigation. So that was terrific. I started with a new Chief Justice, so it was a tremendous time. And then out of the blue came this opportunity to establish the common law courts in this new international financial center in Abu Dhabi. I had never traveled in the Middle East and I'd never worked in the Middle East. So, but what I knew was that I did not want to look 5 years down the track and wondered what on earth that would have been like. So that was it. Packed my bags, came over here, started in September 2015, and it has been absolutely tremendous, continues to be tremendous. So I guess going back to kind of the topic or how you started this was kind of creativity and flexibility. As you can see from my career, you know, in and out of private practice, in-house, and now here in an international financial center, you know, heading up the administration of a court, but also on the business development side for the court, which is, you know, it is an opt-in jurisdiction, and also for our arbitration center. So it is just, you know, as it's presented so many different things to pursue, all of which have been exciting. And, you know, kind of that's why I'm here today. So that's why I say you can have creativity and you can have flexibility being a lawyer.
That's fantastic. Look, as part of your journey, you've had the opportunity to do something that, frankly, most people can only dream about, which is to set up a new regulatory regime from scratch. You've been involved with the ADGM courts from the beginning. You've been part of it. You've seen how it's grown. Tell us a little bit about what that journey has been like, and whether what you see today is what you would have envisioned when you first joined.
I don't know what I envisioned when I first joined,
Yeah,
except for something truly creative, something truly innovative, and
yeah.
something that really forged a path through the judiciary with technology.
Hmm.
But it's been the most tremendous privilege. You know, how often do you get an opportunity like this, as I mentioned before? Um, and how do you not squander that opportunity? And I think that I did place quite a bit of pressure on myself for very good reason, is
Yes.
that, you know, you can't squander an opportunity like that. You can't, you can't bring what you know and just put it into a place like this where innovation and creativity is just at the fore, and it's how we live and breathe. So the first, how did I do it? How did I go about it? I think the principal way that I went about it, and to this day I continue, is to ensure that I connect with the community. And that's all aspects of the community. So that's the legal community, the judiciary, with our great friends at Abu Dhabi Judicial Department and in other emirates, with government, with partners, with the corporations, in-house counsel. You really can't do anything that makes a difference
Yeah.
unless you listen to people. Because if you think you know quite a bit of it, you don't think you know it all. That would be fairly arrogant to think that, but you think you know quite a lot and you've had a bit of experience, but it comes to nothing if you don't hit the target with what everybody thinks is different and what they want. Because it has to serve people, it has to be in sync with business, it has to be in sync with investors, and it has to show that you are part of the business to a certain extent. Dispute resolution in a crisis, everybody doesn't want to be in that. But if you're in it, it has to be fast and quick. And so the only way you know how you can achieve that is by talking to people. And that's what I continue to do and will do, kind of forever. But I think it is now probably what I hoped it to be and a lot more. because I think it has stood out as a beacon, the court has in particular, and I've been so lucky with the tremendous leadership of our chairman, His Excellency Ahmed Al-Sayed, who is, of course, Minister of State as well, who is quite a visionary in relation to how
Yes.
technology should be, forging through the business community, including in the court and including in dispute resolution. So I think that's quite a lot of how I did it. That's how we will continue to do it. And also is that is to make sure that we're always thinking about whether or not what we are doing is current. Are we, do we need to think a bit more? So look, it's tremendous privilege to be continuing to do it. And, we're looking forward to so much more of what we've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to hear you talk about this from an angle of the community and the user, frankly, it's refreshing to hear that, because usually that's the last thing on a lot of people's mind, especially when we're talking about things like regulatory regimes and setting up regulations, when exactly as you said, the reason we do all this is to make sure that professional life, personal life can go smoother and in a much more orderly fashion. So the fact that you base a lot of what you do is on community input and on what drives the community needs, I think that's frankly quite exceptional and differentiated. And also the amount of innovation that the ADGM has focused on is also quite unique and positions it differently. In fact, even before the pandemic, ADGM was very much at the forefront of driving a lot of the thinking in digital and disruptions, such as digital courtrooms, etc. How have you seen the pandemic perhaps shape and push some of these initiatives and frankly, the direction that the courts are taking?
Mm. Brilliant question, Sadia. I think um, the pandemic, in so many ways, has been difficult, obviously, but in so many other ways, um, it's been amazing in the sense of speeding up the process of digitization. And I know a lot of people talk about that, and it is the topic du jour of that. But I think the best thing about it is that it makes you realize that you can do so much more. If the pandemic has created this seismic shift in the legal industry, and particularly in relation to court hearings and arbitration hearings and the way those cases are managed, all online, when traditionally
Yeah,
everybody was flying around the world, everybody had great big slabs of paper, because and they needed to see people in person. And of course, we love, it's you have to see people in person. Kind of the sociability of things is really important. But there's a point at which that's right, but that's sort of the icing on the cake. The rest can be done much more efficiently. So we were pandemic ready before the pandemic arrived. So for us, it was a seamless continuation of operations. We changed nothing. We didn't have to do anything. We have a unique e-courts platform where the rest of the world and locally files documents, commences cases, connects with us on a digital court file. So we were ready for that, and we were feeling, really positive about what we'd achieved and that it was unique, it was different. We do have a digital courtroom bespoke built, but luckily the rest of the world has exponentially increased in relation to the use of technology and digitization and thinking differently. So for
yeah,
us, that is even a greater incentive to go higher. Okay, we had that, so we've got a great base to build on. What more can we do? What's out there on the new frontier that we can explore, again, with consultation that will make lives, businesses easier, more efficient?
mm,
And frankly, having people in the profession, particularly young lawyers in the
mm,
profession, doing what they do best, which is not that rote formulaic work, which is fine to a point, but have them really explore and use the extraordinary skills they've developed both in their educational career and as they're coming through law firms in-house. That, that's the future of the profession. That's the future of judicial services and dispute resolution, is harnessing the great minds of our judges who are experienced, and much more mature in their careers, with technology that bridges it with these young members of the profession coming through. You bring them together with technology, and what you can achieve is limitless. It really
Absolutely.
is. So yeah, so that's the pandemic has presented an opportunity, again, not to be squandered, again, to be used and explored. And even the simplest use of technology, you don't have to spend a large amount of money in order to achieve efficiencies and in order to be different and to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, so it's kind of exciting times from it, out of the negative. It's great
Yeah.
to try and forge something positive through it, and the legal industry is now embracing that, and I think it's a limitless sky, and imagination is the key.
I could not agree more. So you, in addition to being an incredibly accomplished woman and professional, are also a mother of two beautiful children. Well, slightly grown up at this point. But I remember you mentioned when you moved to New York, they were still very young. And you moved because of your husband's work. And you not only had to adjust to being in a new country, a new city, you also had to assume the role and responsibility of being the primary caretaker without the traditional support that you might have had in the other places. At the same time, you also transitioned and you joined an in-house a firm as an in-house counsel. Lots of changes, lots of movement. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
um it was tough, it was exhilarating,
Yeah,
it was burdensome at time. It was scary. I packed up after a legal career back in Sydney and moved to somewhere where I knew nothing about, thinking that I did want to continue a career, but, this was all change. Um, so it was all of that. But, as an Australian, we're wanderers by nature. We seem to find ourselves, as there are many Australians around the world working, we seem to find ourselves in different places around the world, um, seizing seizing the different parts of the world, seizing what that has to offer.
yeah,
So, it was all of those things, and times were tough, and, settling in. Of course, we had arrived in an English-speaking country, so that per se is pretty easy, in a country that, you'd grown up with the social culture on. Um, but it taught me that we're really resilient. I think women are incredibly resilient. And I think you can, look at that old phrase, if the glass half empty, the glass half full. You can do all of that over time as as you get to your feet, you work out, you settle the lay of the land. But we are very resilient. And I think when you pull on that level of resilience from yourself and you make them into something where you want to go, where you see different things and different openings. I think that for me is what happened from that transition. And two young children, as mothers would know, when you have children, you kind of you're with people. You know, you're thrust with people. You have all sorts of activities that you need to do. So you're kind of right out there anyway in getting to know people. And I think, you know, it's having an ease of being open to people, and I think, you know, really working
Yeah.
out where you want to go, and having those opportunities, which is
Yeah.
tremendous. But, you know, it was all of that and more, and, you know, brilliant time of my life, I have to say.
Fantastic. You said earlier in our conversation, as well as several times before, once you start cruising, it's time to switch. What do you mean by that?
I mean that you should always have a positive restlessness. I think that complacency is not good. I think that when you're cruising and you think everything is within your control and you have it all sorted, and you know, really, you're almost like you don't need to learn anything more. You don't really think that, but that's essentially what it means, is you don't move out of your comfort zone. Then I don't think you grow as a person. I don't think you grow as a professional. And I think that you then don't calibrate your thinking to move with what's around you. And I don't think that's a good thing. So for me, the moment I feel you know, that sense of cruising a little bit,
Mm.
I either need, and switching doesn't mean switching your role. Switching means switching your mindset.
Yeah.
And what are you doing each day? And you know, are you jumping out of bed each morning and going, I have to do this, this, and this, and that's exciting, and that's
Yeah.
tough, that's hard, and I have to navigate it. So if you're not leaping into the day, you know, switching your ideas and switching what you have to do, and making sure that you're not just sitting there and great, I've gotten through that to-do list. I think that is what you need to do. So I do call it a positive restlessness. You know, you can't be constantly changing, but I think it's not, it's all about mindset as well. You may be doing exactly the same thing, but maybe there's something more creative to add into it.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to connect with different people. Maybe you haven't thought of things. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It can be dramatic and not as dramatic as that. So, but I think you've always got to work out whether or not you're challenged, you're interested, you're excited, because that's how you deliver the best for yourself and the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think every once in a while we need to force ourselves to do things that help us grow, help us change, help us evolve. Otherwise,
Definitely,
we never end up tapping into our full potential. So, couldn't agree more. Linda,
absolutely.
any words of advice that you'd like to give to some of our younger women, men that are just entering the workforce?
Absolutely. So, for the young who are thinking of joining the workforce, and if they're thinking of a career in law, um, I think it's a great career to be had. I think what you have to do, it's really important. You've learned a lot to get to that point. You need to continue to learn a lot. You need to challenge things. You need to, absolutely importantly, you need to listen a lot. Listen to the people around you, seek out mentors, seek out people's views who you may not necessarily always agree with.
Mm.
So, you know, if you surround yourself by, you know, people who always have the same views, I don't know that you're growing in the sense of being open to other ideas and concepts and what needs to be done. So I think you need to listen to people enormously, absorb those ideas. Importantly, and I've always loved this quote from Ray Bradbury, the American author, which is that if love what you do and do what you love. And I think that's what you've got to do. It is about the passion for what you do. And if you reverse that, if you do what you love, you will love what you do. I mean, it really, it is that. Um, don't, you know, don't, you'll need to make compromises over time,
Yeah.
and you'll need to, you know, you'll need to shift over time, and there will be disappointment, but it's actually not disappointment. it's actually a life's lesson, and it's actually, you know, what you need to work on for the future. So why was that disappointing? Why did I think that? And often, you know, they're always positives. Um, and from Ray Bradbury again is imagination should be the center of your life. So I kind of like the whole idea of, you know, when you're thinking about things and an idea comes and you go, imagine
Yeah.
if I could do that.
Yeah.
Imagine if I could pull that off. Imagine if I could achieve that, or that's the result of those ideas. Just imagine
Yeah.
that. To me, for the young members of the profession coming through, and, you know, those young men and women out there who are starting off their career, just
Hmm.
imagine. Just imagine what you're capable of. Just imagine the
Yeah.
things that you can do and the creativity that you can share with people,
Yeah.
for yourself, and yeah, as I say, for everybody around you. So
Fantastic.
fairly not that's not granular technical stuff, but I do think, you know, from within you,
Yeah.
you embrace those things, and it's always a good journey. And I wish everybody considering a career in the law all the best, because I think it is a brilliant career to be had. I really do.
It is. It is. Thank you, Linda. Really appreciate your time and you speaking to us today.
So to thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you this morning. So I very much appreciate the time with you.